So now we're going to basically look at some questions from mix and yield variance, and we'll see what the issues are. So the first question, what was the total material mix variance for the period? So আমরা যেটা জানি, what is the how do you find out the mix variance? It is basically actual quantity at standard mix. From there we subtract our actual quantity, we find the difference, and we multiply it basically with our standard price. Okay. So ফরম্যাটটা আগে থেকে দেওয়া থাকলে I know what kind of information I need. So আমার এখানে দুটো আছে, I have liquid X and the other one is liquid Y. So that's what I need. So let's see. So this company mixes two liquids, X and Y. Standard cost for 10 liters of the drink. So for 10 liters, they put 5 liters and 6 liters of X's and Y's. This is a standard cost card. The company does not hold any inventory. During the last period, the company produced 4,800 liters of the drink base. This was 200 liters below the budgeted output. The company purchased 2,200 liters of eggs and 18 at for $18 per liter, and 2,750 liters of Y for $21 per liter. So lots of information, but what we're simply going to do is we're going to find out the information that we need. So actual quantity is already given here. So for X they use 2,200. For Y it was 2,750. It's given right here. So the total actual quantity used was 4950. Now remember, we always need, if you're doing the mix variance, we always need the total of my actual quantity. Okay, I'll show you why right now. So let's get the calculator out. 1 second. Right. So for actual quantity standard mix, if we had used 4950, what portion of this was supposed to be X? If we can see, out of 11 liters, 5 liters is supposed to be X. So this is going to be into 5 divided by 11. So that's about 2250. So this should be 2250, 2250. And then how much is supposed to be Y? Same thing. Once again, it's supposed to be 4950. Oops, sorry, 4950 into 6 divided by 11. This is supposed to be Y. So this should be 2700. Okay. So this difference is 50. This is going to be minus 50. And the standard price for X was $16. And the standard price for Y was $25. Okay. So what is the variance? That's 50 into $16. That's 800. And then minus 50. Sorry, my bad. So that's into 25, which is 250 minus 800. So it's supposed to be 450 adverse. Okay. Because this is positive 800 and this one right here is a negative 1250. Let me just widen this so that you can see the working. 450. So the answer is going to be 450 adverse. Alright. So 450 adverse. This should be our answer. We will check in the end. Let's go forward. So once again, total material price variance. So as always, with any calculations regarding variances, we first put the formula. How do we do the price variance? It's standard price less my actual price, the difference into actual quantity is our variance. So we have two products, X and Y. So let's give X, let's give Y. So what is given here? We need to find the standard price and we need to find the actual price. So Gofco manufactures a product with a standard material cost as follows. So this is the standard material cost. So the standard price is 2 kgs at $1 per kg, and this is $1.5 per kg. So this is standard price was $1. This was $1.5. What is the actual price? It's very simply, we have to calculate it. So I paid $2,530 for 2,200 kgs. So it's 1.15 is what I actually paid. 1 point, 1 second. This is going to be 1.15. So that's 1.15. And for material Y, we paid 9050. So that's 9050. And we paid 6,080 for 6,080 kgs. So that's 6,080. So that's about, I think, 1.49. Let's keep this to here, 1.49. So the difference, this is 0.15 adverse. Sorry. This is, yeah, 0.15 adverse, and this is 0.01 favorable. So actual quantity of X that we bought, actual quantity is right here, it's 2,200. This is 6,080. 6,080. So let's do the figures. 2,200 into 0.15. So that's 330 adverse. 330, and that's 6. Oops, 1 second. 6080 into 0.01. So that's about 60.8 something. Alright. So that's 60.8. So 330 minus 60.8, that should give us the variance. So that's about 269 or 270 at first. Okay. So let's look at the options here. So this is the closest, that's about 260 at first. All right. So they asked for total material price variance. We did the total material price variance. Next up, let's go to the next question. So this is a theoretical question, so we'll go through it. A company that manufactures luxury biscuits has decided to amend the ingredient mix to include more fruit and nuts, which are expensive, and less oats, which are cheap. So basically, they're going to use the more expensive material more in proportion. So, what is likely going to happen? An adverse material mix variance. So remember what mix variance tells us. Mix variance tells us about cost. So if you're going to use more of the expensive materials, then of course our cost is going to go up and the mix variance is going to be adverse. So the first statement is absolutely correct. The second statement, a lower quality biscuit. Now, usually, what we assume is if we are going to use uh, the more expensive material more, then the quality usually is better. Okay. And if we use the cheaper material more, then the quality declines. So, based on that assumption, of course, if you're going to use more fruit and nuts, which are more expensive, we can expect a higher quality, not a lower quality. So option A is obviously true. The second option is likely to be false. So which of the above are most likely results? So very simply, option A. All right. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Once again, another theoretical question. So magic drinks makes a popular soft drink by mixing two ingredients: soda water and special syrup. Soda water is inexpensive. Special syrup is expensive. The standard mix is 80% soda water and 20% special syrup. During the recent financial period, the company recorded a favorable mix variance. So once again, what does the mix variance tell us? The mix variance tells us about the cost of making it. Okay. So if my mix variance was favorable, that means we used the cheaper one more. So which one was cheaper? Soda water was cheaper. Okay. So option one, less syrup was used than the standard mix. Of course, the syrup was more expensive, so we perhaps used it less than what we're supposed to. That's why it was cheaper. So this statement should be true. A favorable mix variance. So as I said before, right in the last question as well, it is assumed that if we use the less expensive material more, the quality usually declines. Okay. Since it's a favorable mix variance, we can assume that they used more soda water. So it is obviously expected that the quality could have declined. So this statement is also true. All right. Next up, a food production company has recently employed a new production manager. The production manager's remuneration includes a bonus that is linked to the monthly cost variances, including material price, material yield, and material mix variances. So basically, this guy gets a bonus based on price, yield, and mix. Okay. By selecting the relevant boxes in the table below, whether the following statements about linking the production manager bonus to these variances are true or false. Okay. The production manager will be motivated to improve the quality of output. Now, please remember, his basic bonuses are on price, yield, and mix. If he wants to improve the quality, he needs to use more expensive material more. So that means his mix variance will be adverse. And he doesn't want that. So, of course, the production manager will not be motivated to improve the quality of the product. Okay. The production manager will look for ways to reduce waste. Of course, if he reduces the waste, then his yield variance will be good. And that is, of course, something that he's going to try to do. So, this one is going to be a true statement. All right. Okay. Let's go forward. So, once again, now we are looking at the total sales quantity contribution variance. Okay. So, with the variance, always what I always do is I put what are the informations that I need. This is sales quantity variance. So how do we calculate sales quantity variance? This usually is actual quantity standard mix less my budgeted quantity. Okay. The difference, and then we multiplied it with the standard contribution, because this is very simple. They have said it's contribution variance, and that generally gives me the variance. Okay. So let's look at this. So two products, we sell product A and we sell product B. So budgeted quantity, what were we supposed to sell? We already have this over here. We are supposed to sell 15,840. As you can see, I didn't even read the question, but I can simply get the information from here. Okay. So this is my budgeted data. These are my actual data. So I was supposed to sell 15,840. So let's put this there. 15,840 and 10,560. So total of these two, let's put this here, because this is going to be relevant a little bit later. So this is going to be 10,000, sorry, 15,840 plus 10,560. So that's 26,400. That's 26,400. This is my budgeted quantity. Actual quantity standard mix. So remember, for actual quantity, we first need to calculate how much we have sold in total actually. So 14,200 plus 12,500. This is what we have sold actually in total. So that's 14,200 plus 12,500. So that's about 26,700. So let's put this here. This is 26,700. So now, out of these 26,700, what was the proportion of A supposed to be? So A was supposed to be 15,840 out of a total budgeted sale of 26,400. So once again, look at what we're doing. Actual sales, from the actual sales, if we sold it in the standard mix, how many was supposed to be A? Okay, that is what we do. So let's do the same thing for B. So for B, we have in total, if we have sold 26,700, the proportion of B was supposed to be 10,560 out of 26,400. So we can see it's 10,680. That's 10,680. So what's the difference? One six zero. Oops, sorry. 16020 minus 15840. It's 180. This is obviously favorable. The second one is 10680 less 10560, which is once again 120 favorable. So standard contributions. So sales price was 20, variable cost was 8. So the standard contribution for this should be 12. Sold for 24, variable cost is 11, so the standard contribution of this is supposed to be 13. So that's 12 into 180. It's 2160, and that's 120 into 13. That's 1560. If we add them up, so this is 3720 favorable. Okay, so let's look at the answer. So that's going to be 3720 favorable. All right, so let's go forward. So they're asking for what is the sales quantity variance. Okay. The company sells two products and has calculated the following information. Sales mix variance is this, sales price variance is this, sales volume variance is this. There is no indication whether the sales mix variance is adverse or favorable, but it was caused by a lower proportion of the more profitable item being sold. So they are saying, first of all, they have given us the sales mix variance, they've given us the sales price variance, and they've given us the sales volume variance. What they're asking for is they're asking for sales quantity variance. And what they have said is they don't know whether the sales mix is variance is favorable or adverse, but it was caused by a lower proportion of the more profitable item being sold. So please remember, if I'm selling two products, the one that is less profitable, if I sell that more in proportion, my sales mix variance is going to be adverse. Once again, please remember, if I am supposed to sell two products and one is more profitable and one is less profitable, if I sell the less profitable product more in proportion, then the sales mix variance is going to be adverse. Okay. So they've given us the sales mix variance of 1000 and the sales volume variance and the sales price variance. Now, if we go back to the very basic, what is the very basic? The very basic is sales volume variance is equal to my sales mix variance plus my sales quantity variance. Okay. So the sales volume variance, they have already said it's 1400 adverse. The sales mix variance, they have not said it's adverse or favorable, but they've said the sales mix variance is 1000. But they've already said that we have sold the less profitable product more and the more profitable product less. See, caused by lower proportion of the more profitable item being sold. So sales mix variance of this 1000 is definitely going to be adverse. So then what was my sales quantity variance? Very simply, if you make this x, this has to be 400 adverse. Because this 400 adverse of sales quantity plus 1000 adverse of sales mix will give me a total sales volume variance of 1400 adverse. Sales price variance has nothing to do with sales volume variance. Okay, so the answer is this 400 adverse. And now they're asking for the favorable sales mix variance for July. So they've already said it's going to be favorable and they want the mix variance. So once again, we'll go to the very basic, it's calculation. So we will stick to our formula. Sales mix variance formula is what? Actual quantity standard mix. And this is actual quantity. The difference, the standard. Over here, they've given the profit, I guess. So we'll use the profit, standard profit, and this is going to be the variance. So sorry, this is the sales variance. So this is going to be budgeted quantity. Yeah. One moment. Let me refer back. This is actual quantity. This is actual quantity. Standard mix. Yeah, this is the right order for sales. So always be careful with sales because the formula might get jumbled up at the back of our head. So we need to be very clear about what the formula is. Okay. So we have two things. We have product RR and we have product SS. So the actual quantities are already given here. We have sold 2000 of RR and we have sold 8000 of SS. So actually we have sold 10,000 units in total. No issues there. So for actual quantity standard mix, so if this 10,000 we had sold in the standard mix, what would the units of RR and SS be? So let's do this. We have sold 10,000. Okay. And if we had sold this in the standard mix, it should have been 3 out of 9. 3,000 out of a total of 9,000 budgeted sales should have been product RR. So that's 3 divided by 9. This 333.33. Let's round it up. 3333. And then what is the SS supposed to be? It's very simple. একই জিনিস 10,000 এর ভিতরে 6 out of 9 is supposed to be SS. So that's 6667. 6667. So let's do this. This is 1333. And this is 1333. Favorable. The standard profit for this is supposed to be $4. And the standard profit for SS is going to be 6. Now you might say, why did I use profit and not use contribution? Because if both are given and the question is not very specific, I'd recommend you use what I call as the profit figure. Okay. So that's, if you do this, the variance is going to be, let's break it down and do it for you. So 1,333 in a 4, that's 5332, 5332, and this 6 into 1333, 7998, 7998. So let's subtract one from the other. It's 2666 or 2667 or 2666, whatever you want to call it. You want to put in a dollar in front, that should be around the sales favorable sales variance. All right. Look. So let's go to the next one. So to produce 19 liters of product X what is the requirement? Total for the total material mix variance and total material, was there a favorable or adverse result in September? So based on this information, we need to see whether the yield variance and the mix variance was favorable or adverse. Okay. So 19 liters of product X requires a standard input of 8 liters of chemical A and 12 liters of chemical B. So 20 liters input করলাম and 19 liters আছে, so there's an issue of normal loss. Chemical A has a standard cost of 20, B has a standard cost of 25. During September, 1850 liters of X were produced, 900 liters of chemical A and 1100 liters of chemical B. That's 2000 liters in total was actually used. An actual cost is given here. So they're asking for the material mix and total material yield variance. So very simply, I say we do it. Okay. So for the yield variance, it's standard quantity. This is actual quantity, standard mix. We have two products. We have X and we have Y. So for standard quantity, we need to go to the actual output. Actual output was 1850 liters. সেটা একটু খেয়াল করবেন সবাই, because normal loss are dealing 1850 liters. আমার 19 liters আউটপুটের জন্য 8 liters of A লাগে and 12 liters of B লাগে. So this, these are careful খেয়াল করেন. So how many 19 liters? This, divide this with 19. If you have normal loss, do this. 1850 divided by 19, and how many of X do we need? We need 8 liters of X. The same thing for this one as well. 1850 divided by 19 into 12. এক কথায় 19 লিটারের জন্য 8 লিটার অফ কেমিক্যাল এ লাগে। তো 1850 লিটারে কতটুকু 19 লিটার আছে ডিভাইডেড বাই 19, প্রতিটা বানাতে আমার 8 লিটার করে লাগছে। So that's what we have simply done here. Okay. Actual quantity standard mix. So for this we need the total actual quantity. So in total actual quantity আমার হয়েছে 2000 লিটার। Okay. এর ভিতরে A is supposed to be what? A is supposed to be 8 liters out of a total of 20. If I had used 2000 liters of chemical, actually এর ভিতরে chemical Y is supposed to be 12 liters out of 20 liters. Okay, so these are the figures. Let's just put them down. 1850 divided by 19 into 8. So this is supposed to be 779. Okay. Standard quantity 779. Once again, 1850 divided by 19 into 12. So that's 1168. So that's 1168. That's supposed to be my standard quantity. Actually, 2000 into 8 by 20. This is supposed to be 800 liters. And then of course this is the remaining, just 1200 liters. So as we can see, 800 minus 779, it's 21. This is 1168 less 1200, which is 32. Let's put the prices down there. So 21 into 20 and 25. This is 20 and 25. This is 20. This is 25. So this is going to be 1 into 20. That's about 420. And this is going to be, one second, 32 into 25. That's about 800. So we can see that my yield is adverse. My yield variance is adverse. So that's clear, is adverse. So in terms of mixed variance, actually we really don't need to do much. This is going to be actual quantity standard mix, which we have already found out. This is going to be my actual quantity. Same thing once again. This is X. The next one is Y. The actual quantity standard mix, we already know this is 800. This is 1200. And what have we actually used? Actually, we have used 900 of A and 1100 of B. Sorry, my bad. This is 900 of A and 1100 of B. Sorry, these two should have been A and B, not X and Y. Let me just redo this. Okay, so this is 100 adverse. This is 100 favorable. And if we do this, this is 20 and this is 25. So we can very clearly see this is 200 adverse and this is 250 favorable. Okay. So this one is going to be favorable. So yield variance is adverse, mixed variance is favorable. So yield variance is adverse and total mixed variance was favorable. So this should be the correct answer. All right. Let's go on to the next one. Question 10. So this is a very tricky question and I want everybody to focus on this a little bit as we go along. Okay. So now we're going to look at question number 10. And this was an actual ACCA question and students struggled a lot with this question when it actually came in the exam. So let's look at this. So the requirement was, what is the total material yield variance for micra for period 1? Okay. So what we traditionally do is we go with our formula. So let's put the formula in first. So for the yield variance, what we need is we need our standard quantity, we need our actual quantity at standard mix, the difference into the standard price, and that basically gives us the variance. All right. So there are three here. Let's put them there: R, S, and T. All right. So Vibrant Co manufactures and sells paints. Business unit A of the company makes a paint called Micra, and they make Micra using three ingredients: R, S, and T. At the end of period 1, the total material cost variance was 4,900 adverse, and it was currently recorded for Micra. Okay. The following information relates to Micra. So they've given us the standard cost per liter, actual cost per liter, and actual usage. The standard ratio of mixing material R, material S, and material T is 30 is to 50 is to 20. The material price variance for micra has been correctly calculated as 4,800 at first. Now, for us to do standard quantity, remember we need to find out the actual output. And they have not given us the actual output in the entire question. That how much did we actually produce? So this one cannot be done like this. So if we look further into it, then over here we have total material cost variance, and we are going back to the exact basic. Total material cost variance is equal to my total material price plus my material usage variance. Okay. And this material usage variance can be broken down into two parts. One is material mix variance and the other one is material yield variance. So in terms of material cost variance, they have already given us that the cost was 4,900 adverse. Okay. This is 4,900 adverse. Material price variances, they have already given us this, which is 4,800 adverse. So what is my material usage variance? My material usage variance is 100 adverse. This is my material usage variance. Now this usage variance can be broken down into two parts. One is the yield variance and the other one is the mix variance. Now remember, we cannot find out the yield variance using the information because we need the actual quantity, actual output, and in the entire question they have not given us the actual output, but they have given us enough information to find out the material mix variance, which is actual quantity, standard mix. This is my actual quantity. So if you do it like that, let's put in the actual quantities in first. So the actual quantities are 1,900 is what I've actually used. 2,800 is what I've actually used. And 1,300 is what I have actually used. So what is the total that I've actually used? I have actually used, let's see, that's 1,900 plus 2,800 plus 1,300. So we have actually used 6,000 kgs in total. Now if we do this with actual quantity standard mix, out of this 6,000, 30% was supposed to be material A. So 6,000 into 0.3, it's 1,800. So this should be 1,800. The second one, half of it is supposed to be material S. So that's about 3,000. We don't need a calculator to do that. And the remaining of it, which is 20%, is supposed to be material T, which basically is 1,200. Okay. So we can clearly see the differences. Minus 100. This is 200. And this is, once again, minus 100. Once again, current, what we're doing is we're finding the yield mix variance. Question chasing into yield variance. I'll come down to why we're doing this. So standard price, this is supposed to be 63. This is supposed to be 50. And this is supposed to be 45. So let's do this. That's 6,300. Of course, adverse. This is one supposed to be 10,000, which is favorable, and this is 4,500, which is adverse. So if you add them all up, so this is 10,000 minus 6. Oops, sorry. Yeah, this is 10,000 minus 6,300 minus 4,500. So basically, our total mix variance is 800 adverse. Now, if you look at this, we have the material usage variance and we have the yield variance. So this was important. So material usage variance is equal to my mix variance plus my yield variance. Material usage variance we know is 100 adverse. If mix variance is, as we found out right now, 800 adverse, then of course the yield variance was 700 favorable. Okay. So আমাদের actually reverse engineering করে এটা বের করতে হয়েছে. So the yield variance is 700 favorable, and the answer should be, one second, it's right here, 700 favorable. This was a very actual ACCA question, and this was very tricky. Student did really badly. So ওখানে আমরা what we did was we looked for the information that was available and then we reversed it in order to find out the yield variance. So it's very important that you clearly understand the breakdown of the mix and yield variance and where it came from. All right. So there we go. So let's go forward. What was the total favorable yield variance? So once again, for the yield variance, we will simply do the calculations, the formula. So the yield variance formula is standard quantity, actual quantity at standard mix, the difference, the standard price, and that should give us the variance. So we have two types, Z and Y. So we have Z and we have Y. So let's look at Z. So for standard quantity, what we need is the actual output, and the actual output is 6,200. Let's put it there. So that's 6,200 into, so according to standard, what are we supposed to do? So this is given for 100 kg of the product. Okay, this is the standard input for 100 kgs. So if you look at 100 kg standard, the actual input was 125 kgs and we just got 100 kgs. So there's a normal loss. So very simply what we do is 6,200 divided by 100. So that means this is the number of kgs that we needed to put in. And for this, we had an input of 80. Same thing again for Y. 6,200, how many 100 kgs was there? Divided this by 100. And for every 100 kgs, we needed to put in 45 kg of material Y. Actual quantity standard mix. So for actual quantity standard mix, remember what do we need? We need the total of my actual quantity used. So how much have I used in total? 5,000 of Z and 2,500 of Y. So that's about 7,500. Out of this 7,500, according to standard, what is supposed to be Z? 7,500. Z is supposed, Z is supposed to be 80 out of 125 kgs. So that's 4,800. And Y, so So what was y supposed to be? Y was supposed to be, excuse me, 7,500 into 45 out of 125 kgs. That's 2,700. Let's do these as well. So this is supposed to be 62 into 80. So that's 62 into 80. That's 4960 standard quantity. That's 4960. And this is supposed to be 62 into 45. So let's do this. 62 into 45. It's 2790. It's 27. So the difference 160 favorable, 90 favorable. Standard price. What was the standard price? $5 and $9. So that's $5. This is $9. So that's about 800, and that's about 810. So should be 1610. Unless I've made a mistake somewhere, that should be it. 1610 favorable. Okay. Next up, so chemical X is made by combining two materials in a process. There is 10% loss of the volume of materials input to be lost during the process. This has been reflected in the expected yield of chemical X. So, in the most recent period, an adverse yield variance was recorded. So, the basic aspect is এখানে আমার নর্মাল লস আছে অফ 10%, ওকে, এবং এই নর্মাল লসের এটা অলরেডি আমার yield ভেরিয়েন্সের ভিতরে দিস ইজ অলরেডি দেয়ার, মানে ইট হ্যাজ বিন অ্যাকাউন্টেড ফর। তারপরেও যদি আমার yield ভেরিয়েন্স অ্যাডভার্স হয়, ওয়াই ওয়াজ দিস দ্য কেস? তো এক কথায় যে 10%-এর বেশি লস আমার কেন হয়েছে, বিকজ 10% তো অলরেডি yield ভেরিয়েন্সের ভিতরে ওরা ওটা অ্যাকোমোডেট করেছে। সো যদি আমার অ্যাডভার্স yield ভেরিয়েন্স হয়, তার মানে অবশ্যই 10%-এর বেশি আমার ওয়েস্টেজ হয়েছে। সেটা কেন? উইচ অফ দ্য ফলোইং? স্টাফ রিসিভ ট্রেনিং অন রিডিউসিং ওয়েস্ট। যদি ওয়েস্ট রিডিউস হয় তাহলে আমার yield ভেরিয়েন্স অ্যাডভার্স হওয়ার কথা না, এটা ফেভারেবল হওয়ার কথা। দিস ইজ নট দি অপশন। Cost of materials. Cost has nothing to do with the mix and yield variance. This has to do with the price variance. So this definitely cannot be the choice. The selling price of chemical, once again, the selling price has absolutely nothing to do with the yield variance. That has to do with my sales variances. A thermostat attached to the process was faulty, which led to a machine overheating, resulting in an abnormal loss. Our machine overheat হয়ে যে আমার যতটুকু expected তার থেকে বেশি normal loss হচ্ছে, that's a possible or a viable cause. So we are going to go with D because we're sure it's not going to be A, B, or C. All right, good. Let's go forward. So organic bread company, this is basically